Monday Night Raw starts off with Rhea Ripley coming out to address her issues with Liv Morgan. Comes out, she mentions the injury that Liv Morgan caused her, mentions how Liv Morgan's walking around with her World Heavyweight Championship, and that she immediately just calls Rhea Ripley out. But, of course, we know Rhea Ripley wasn't going to, Liv Morgan wasn't going to come out. Dominik Mysterio comes out. Dominik Mysterio comes out, he's trying to make peace, he's trying to make it up to Rhea Ripley, but Rhea Ripley is just not listening to him. Then Liv Morgan pops up on a Titantron. She mentions Rhea Ripley's shoulder, how she injured her. Then she ends up mentioning how she meant what she said about taking everything away from Rhea, which includes Dominik Mysterio. She ends up saying that at first she didn't understand what she saw in Dominik, but she started to understand once she started spending time with him. Then she ended up ending her promo, ended up saying that she may be back, but Liv Morgan is on top. Rhea then ended up just saying that, look, I want you at SummerSlam. Liv Morgan basically says that she's not going to hide and that she accepts her match. So it's confirmed Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley will be at SummerSlam as we all predicted. That should be a good match. Very interested to see how that plays out because most likely I'm assuming that with Triple H booking, with his long-term storytelling, it's very unlikely that Rhea Ripley is winning that match, only because if Rhea Ripley wins, the Liv Morgan stuff is over. It's over. There's no reason for her to continue. So most likely Rhea probably will lose that match, but it wouldn't shock me if Rhea wins because she's basically their top woman in the women's division. So it makes sense to put the title back on her if they want to. But that match should be a banger. I can't wait for SummerSlam. After this, we get a segment. Dominik Mysterio is trying to fight, try to get Rhea's attention, but she's just ignoring him. Then he sets up some flowers in the Judgment Day clubhouse, but she ends up just basically not accepting him and ends up slamming the door on him. Then Damian walks up, basically just laughing at the whole situation because he's been trying to warn Dominik for months. Then Rhea comes out and ends up throwing the flowers at Dominik. So throughout this entire episode, it's just Rhea basically not accepting Dominik for what he's done, and Dominik is trying to fight to get his mommy back. Now, we get Sheamus versus Bronson. This was set up last week with Bronson Reed interrupting an interview segment with Sheamus. Sheamus picks up the easy victory. Wasn't much of a fight. But then, after the match, Bronson tries to attack Sheamus, but Pete Dunne comes out of nowhere and ends up making a save. Sheamus tries to shake the hand of Pete Dunne, but Pete Dunne ends up refusing the handshake. Pete Dunne ends up leaving the ring. Sheamus ends up turning his back, and then Pete Dunne ends up coming back in the ring and ends up attacking Sheamus. After he attacks Sheamus, Bronson Reed gets on the top rope and hits the tsunami. This is very interesting. The fact that Pete Dunne is a heel, because he is the heel in this situation, is very interesting because this tells me that Tyler Bate will be on the shelf for a while because he is in a tag team with New Catch Republic, but they're baby faces. So the fact that Pete Dunne is a heel tells me that Tyler Bate should be out for some time because there's no reason to turn him heel without them breaking up as a tag team when they're both baby faces. So it's very interesting to see how long Tyler Bate will be out because he has to be out for some time for them to do this. But I like Pete Dunne a lot. I like Sheamus, so I'm very interested to see how this plays out. Next, get another segment. Rhea Ripley is still mad at Dominik. She ends up mentioning how Dominik ends up saying that you're not answering his text, how he's been trying to reach her all week. Rhea made a good point that you didn't reach her out in 3 months. The 3 months she was injured, you didn't talk to her at all. So makes a good point, and she ends up leaving. And, Dom throughout the entire show has to keep fighting for Rhea's love back. Next, get a quick segment. Zelina Vega, she's getting interviewed. But then we get Zoe Stark, Shayna Baszler, Sonya Deville, their new faction. They basically interrupt. Basically ends up saying that they're the new head honchos of Monday Night Raw, and you have to go through them. Zelina, of course, isn't backing down, and this sets up a match between Sonya Deville and Zelina Vega later on in the show. Actually, this was actually next. What happened next was Zelina Vega versus Sonya Deville. They have a match. Sonya Deville picks up the victory through interferences of Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. But after the match, they end up attacking Zelina Vega. They're constantly attacking her arm. They end up injuring her arm. Then you get the KCs and Lyra Valkyria. They come out, make the save to prevent them from stopping. And this sets up a match between Zelina Vega. This sets up a match between the KCs and Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark to set up a tag team match for later on in the show. Next, this segment had me cracking up. We get Damian Priest and Dominik Mysterio. They're talking. Then you get Jey Uso, all hype, energetic, and he's like Please tell me that it's true that Rhea Ripley is single because I'm trying to holler at her. I thought that was hilarious. That was straight up hilarious that Jey Uso really did straight up just asked Damian and Dominik that is Rhea Ripley single. That is hilarious. Dominik, of course, is mad. He's frustrated. He's like, bro, mommy belongs to me. That she's still with me. No one's gonna talk to my girl, whatever. Of course, this leads to setting up a match because Jey Uso ends up leaving, and Damian. No, before Jey Uso left, he ended up saying that tell Rhea Ripley I said what's up, basically. Then Damian ends up instigating Dominik Mysterio, which I thought was hilarious. He ends up saying that you've been to jail before. You can't let dudes walk over you. Dominik then takes that advice and ends up setting up a match with Jey Uso later on the show, which I thought was hilarious. And Damian is just Damian is just on purposely just setting up Dominik Mysterio what was hilarious. Then we get Damian and Gunther. They have a promo. Gunther comes out. He ends up saying that Damian isn't living up to being champion, that his reign has been lackluster, and that he hasn't brought any prestige to the World Heavyweight Championship. Then Damian ends up mentioning his struggle, mentioning his journey, mentioning how he was on the street, and mentioned that he earned everything he got in WWE. Gunther then ended up saying that being on the street is a choice and that it's not his fault that his parents decided to teach their offspring that they're not worth providing for, which I thought was wild. I thought that was a crazy thing to say. Then he ended up saying that his parents gave him everything because they realized his worth from birth. I was like, okay. I ain't gonna lie. This promo was giving me not the same vibe, but it was giving me similar. It gave me similar vibes, I guess, to Booker T and Triple H. It gave me similar vibes to that. I don't think it's the same, but it's somewhat similar. Then he ended up saying that it's up to him to restore the prestige of the championship and that he should just give him the belt. Damian, and then he ended up saying that Damian Priest will always be street trash, which I thought was crazy. Then Damian responds, ends up mentioning his WrestleMania match against Sammy, how he lost, and he mentions that the reason that he lost at Mania is the same reason why he's going to lose at SummerSlam, and that is because he has no heart and that he doesn't understand what it's like to fight for everything that you have. And he says that after SummerSlam, we're going to see that are you more than just a boring, privileged scumbag? They go back and forth a lot about the brawl, but then Braun Strowman comes out to set up their match between Damian Priest and Braun Strowman. I thought this was great. This is very interesting because the way this promo was set up, it kind of feels like Damian Priest has to win, right? Like, because Damian Priest is coming off like the babyface here, and when someone says something like that, you kind of got to have the babyface win. So it's very interesting. But most likely they're going to have Damian Priest lose by some type of shenanigans, most likely, if they do pull the trigger. But I'm very interested to see with this match. This was a good promo. Next, we get Adam Pearce and Braun Strowman. I mean, not Braun Strowman, Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker is basically mad. He's upset because Sami Zayn gave Ilya Dragunov a title opportunity. He's upset. He's like, why did you give Ilya Dragunov a title opportunity? That's mine. Adam Pearce basically ends up saying that you don't deserve it. That Sami asked for it and he gave it to him because he's the champ. Braun Breaker basically ended up saying that I'm going to interfere in the match. He literally just said, look, I'm going to interfere in that match and that match is not going to finish, basically. I'm just going to spare everyone in that match. Adam Pearce basically is like, no, you're not. And ends up sending security. We already know security is not going to do anything to Braun Breaker, which we all know what happens later in the show. Next, Damian Priest versus Braun Strowman. Damian Priest picks up the victory. After the match, though, Gunther comes out. He comes out and gets in the ring and immediately chops Damian Priest. Damian Priest ends up attacking back, getting the upper hand. They go a little back and forth, and then Damian Priest ends up clotheslining Gunther. Gunther rolls out the ring, and Damian Priest stands tall. I like what they did here. I like that they're making Damian Priest look strong, because I thought that when he faced Gunther that they was going to make him look weak and make Gunther seem like the superior. But I like that they're having Damian stand up and make him actually stand a chance against Gunther. I love what they're doing here. Next, get a quick Alpha Academy segment. Alpha Academy, they're talking and they're making it seem like that they're finna go back to Chad Gable. But Chad Gable ends up overhearing him, ends up saying that, he's excited. He's like, yes, it looks like you guys are back with me. You guys forgive me. But they ended up telling him that they was talking about Xavier Woods and how they was going to help him out. Chad Gable, of course, doesn't like that. He gets in Otis' face, and Otis ends up telling him that we're basically done with you and that we meant it. We meant that we was done with him. And next week, Alpha Academy will be helping Xavier Woods against Authors of Pain next week. Next, get Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark versus the KCs. I almost called them the OCs. Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark ends up picking up the victory here. they're building them up. I like this faction. I like the potential of it with Sonya Deville being the mouthpiece, Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark being the muscle of the group. I really love this. I think it has a lot of potential. I think it could be built up perfectly. I think they could just be what Damage Control should have been. Hopefully they continue to pick up victories, and I hope they continue to be this dominant faction. I think they could do it. Now the only issue is they have to beat credible opponents. What they're doing right now, the Lyra Valkyria and the KCs are good, but if you want to get them over, you have to make them start beating top talent. Now, the only issue with this is that the only top talent on the roster is Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. So that's kind of hard. But I like the potential of this faction, and I think it has a lot of potential if booked properly. Next, we end up getting Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre and Adam Pearce, they have a promo. Adam Pearce ends up mentioning the potential of a Drew McIntyre CM Punk match. He ends up saying that he basically is about to make that match official, but he wants Drew McIntyre to apologize to the referees at Money in the Bank because post-show, Drew McIntyre ended up attacking Adam Pearce and the referees. Drew McIntyre is basically confused. He's like, bro, why do I have to apologize? He basically feels like Adam Pearce is doing too much. But Adam Pearce is very adamant on him apologizing. Drew McIntyre walks up to the refs. He basically says, no. He says, no. He says that Adam Pearce should be the one apologizing to me. You constantly let CM Punk constantly screw me over and over again. And then Adam Pearce ends up basically saying that Drew McIntyre is still suspended. Adam Pearce ends up pushing the referees on the ground. And then it looks like he's about to attack Adam Pearce. But then Seth Rollins comes out. He runs in the ring, attacks Drew McIntyre, about to hit the curb stomp, but Drew McIntyre avoids it. And then that's the end of the segment there. Building up the fact that Seth Rollins is back in the picture of the CM Punk and Drew feud. So I'm very interested to see how that plays out. Next, get a Wyatt Sicks VHS tape. Pat McAfee got the VHS tape on his show. It's Aaron Rowan getting interviewed. And he ends up saying that the last few years have been hard, mentioned his family and how close they were, mentioned how he lost both his brothers and that he had no family and that he was going down a dark path. But then he ends up saying that during the segment, he ended up getting his old mask back when he was with the original Wyatt family. Ends up saying that he found his purpose and now he has hope. Good little vignette segment, nothing too special there. Then we get Dominik Mysterio versus Jey Uso. We already knew how this match probably was going to play out. Liv Morgan interferes in the match. She's talking to Dom. Dom is want her to leave, but Liv Morgan, of course, not leaving. Jey Uso ends up doing like a slide. I think they call it like a baseball kick or something. He ends up doing like a slide kick towards the ring apron, of course, which lands Dominik Mysterio on top of Liv Morgan. Then Liv Morgan pulls him, and now she ends up pulling him, and she's on top of him. Now she's in missionary. Looks like she's about to kiss him. But then Rhea Ripley theme music comes out. She comes out ready to attack Liv, but Liv ends up running away. Then Dominik Mysterio has a little conversation with Rhea, but Rhea's like, get back in the ring and just win the match. Of course, he gets back in the ring. Jey Uso spears him, and then Jey Uso picks the victory. After this match, Jey Uso starts flirting with Rhea Ripley, and he ends up doing like the call signal on his hand, which I thought was hilarious. That was hilarious that he did that. After this match, Dominik Mysterio wants to talk to Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley ends up talking to Dom. And basically, she ends up saying that, look, I don't belong to you. I don't belong to anyone, but you belong to me, and gives him the rose that he gave her earlier. So it looks like Rhea and Dom are back on good terms, which is very interesting. So I'm very interested to see how they play next week on Monday Night Raw. Is everything forgiven, or is she going to be with him but still kind of treat him a little differently? Now we get to Chad Gable. Chad Gable cuts a promo, and he basically ends up wanting Bo Dallas to come out. He wants Bo Dallas to come out. Bo Dallas ends up coming out. But then as he's coming out, the Creed brothers comes out from behind and attack him. Finally, they debuted the Creed brothers and Chad Gable. They took a long time with this. I thought they would have been pulled the trigger on this because they've been teased it, but they finally pulled the trigger on it. They end up attacking Bo Dallas. They're constantly attacking Bo Dallas. Now, as they're attacking Bo Dallas is laughing the entire time he's getting attacked. Like, he's getting brutally destroyed, and he's just constantly laughing and laughing, like he doesn't feel any pain. He kept laughing. Then out of nowhere, the lights go out. The fireflies start going off. Then the music starts playing. Then it pans to the entrance ramp. Then you see all the members of the Wyatt Sicks. All the members come out. They walk down the ring slowly. Now they're all on the ring apron. Chad Gable and the Creed brothers, they basically leave. They leave. They don't want no smoke. And then it's just Bo Dallas and the Wyatt Sicks all in the ring, and they all come together, and that's the end of the segment there. I like what they did here. I thought they was going to attack the Creed brothers and Chad Gable, but they're saving that for later, which I understand. Very excited to see how this story plays out. Now we get to the main event. Ilya Dragunov versus Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship. We all knew how this was going to play out, which I'm not mad at because it was perfect. Towards the end of the match, Sami, Ilya Dragunov are both on the outside of the ring. Towards the announce table, Braun Breaker, of course, comes out. He runs like 100 miles per hour and then immediately spears Ilya Dragunov. Then he attacks Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn tries to fight back, but he throws him in the ring. But Braun Breaker ends up doing like some type of suplex on him. And then Braun Breaker ends up running between the ropes like 3 to 4 times and ends up spearing Sami Zayn because Sami Zayn was exhausted from his match from Ilya Dragunov, and Braun Breaker stands tall, and that's how we end Monday Night Raw. This was a good episode. Solid episode. I can't wait to see how everything plays out. Most likely Braun Breaker and Sami Zayn and Ilya, that would be a triple threat match at SummerSlam. Then put the title on Braun Breaker. This was great. This was a great episode. You guys let me know what your opinions and thoughts down below. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Yeah, that's it.